It's been a month since my last video. Or more than a month, probably. How long has it been, actually, now that I'm thinking about it? YouTube. My channel. Hello, Malachi. Yes. Thank you for showing up. Yeah, well, 3 weeks ago is what YouTube's saying, but probably about a month ago, and that was when I did the breakdown of the Rise of Skywalker final trailer, which did very well, by the way. Thank you, guys. And, yeah, I wanted to talk about The Mandalorian. Episode 1 dropped yesterday as I'm recording this video. Yes, Malachi, thank you so much for showing up right when I decided to start filming. Yes, you did, didn't you? There's going to be very few spoilers in this first breakdown, in the first half of this breakdown. I will throw spoiler messages all over the screen and let you guys know once I start talking spoilers for this episode, because I also understand that Disney Plus is only in like 4 or 5 countries right now. And most of Western Europe has to wait until like March 31st or something ridiculous like that. Anyways, The Mandalorian Episode 1, or rather, The Mandalorian Chapter 1, as the episode is called, fantastic. That's the only thing that I can say about it. It's Dave Filoni's first foray into directing live action, and he did a very good job, didn't he, Malachi? Yes, he did. Dave Filoni did a really good job. Get out of here. Which is surprising to me, to be honest with you. Obviously, he spent quite a long time on the set of the Rogue One and The Force Awakens and Last Jedi and Solo and everything like that. Kind of learning the tricks of the trade. And obviously, partnering with Jon Favreau helped. Writing animation and writing live action are two completely different things in a lot of different ways. With animation, you can always go back and change that little glint in somebody's eye, or you can change the intensity of the smirk. You can do everything. But with live action, you can't do that. You get what the actor gives you, and you have to change it for their next take. Or you have to just say, okay, we're done. The Son dictates things. These are all things that Dave Filoni himself said in an interview that I remember seeing him in. I think it might have been with Ash Crossan of ET Now, or of ET, Entertainment Tonight, maybe. I don't remember exactly where it was. But the cinematography is absolutely amazing. The music is done very, very well. The costume design is fantastic. The aliens are absolutely phenomenal. It's all very, very 1970s. It's very, very 1970s spaghetti western. But even more so than Solo was. Solo still had this sense of, I don't know, the sense of grandness, right? The shots were wider. The shots were wider, like quite literally. You were seeing more of the galaxy with Solo. With this, we don't know any of the names of the planets other than outside of interviews and the databank on StarWars.com. To be honest with you, I can't even name any of the planets that they were on. I know that of the 3 planets that we visited in this show, or in this first episode, they didn't bother with any title cards. It's just, he goes to this planet and he does the thing, and then he goes to that planet and does the thing, and then he goes to this planet for Act 3 and does this thing. That's all we know. I love that. I love the smaller scale. I love the fact that we are looking at a very small person inside of this grand galaxy where things are going on around them that they can't control, that they can't understand. Again, spoiler free, Act 1 is effectively the setup of the character of the Mandalorian and a little bit of exposition explaining to the general audience where this takes place, or when this takes place, more importantly, inside of the timeline of the Star Wars films. Talking about, economic things and all that kind of stuff. Then Act 2 is primarily revolving around a greater understanding of the character, understanding little hints towards the Mandalorian's backstory, his origins, as well as the beginning and the introduction into Act 3. Act 3 of this episode was the adventure hook. This is, okay, here is your MacGuffin. Here is your holy grail. Here is the thing that you are going to need to worry about, Mandalorian, until, or perceivably for the rest of the season, or possibly for the entire series. Okay, there's a lot more that I want to talk about, and I can't do so without spoilers. So, people who haven't seen the episode yet, I'll see you guys later. I hope that you get to watch this as soon as you possibly can. Alright. Spoiler section for Mandalorian, Chapter 1. So I've seen some reactions to The Mandalorian as lots of prettiness, but not much substance. Now, it might have just been because of my own personal hope and my own personal desperate need to cling on to things or find things that I like about stuff. Maybe subconsciously that's it, but to me, I saw quite a lot of subtext and quite a lot of subtlety and quite a lot of visual storytelling in this that doesn't rely on the old Star Wars that you knew as a kid. You know, it doesn't stand on its own 2 feet. I disagree with that because there's so much. Star Wars is bothering with very subtle storytelling now. That's one thing that I will give Game of Thrones credit for, and Breaking Bad credit for. Even though I may not have enjoyed the tones of those stories, the storytelling fashion that they use is used, in my opinion, to great effect in The Last Jedi, is used in very great effect in The Mandalorian. And I'm hoping that we're going to get that same sort of storytelling in The Rise of Skywalker and in the rest of The Mandalorian and in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series and so on and so forth. These very subtle hints and these very subtle waves and psychological pushes towards different themes. Now, how does The Mandalorian do that? It's all in the Beskar, to me. Follow the Beskar and you'll see what I mean. Now, maybe, I am just imprinting stuff that I learned from Star Wars Rebels onto this, but I barely remember those episodes. I actually watched those episodes, the season opener for season 4 of Rebels, by the way. Heroes of Mandalore, I think, parts 1 and 2. And that's where we get the most amount of lore about Mandalorian armor. With that being said, I just watched those and it was like watching them for the first time again. That Beskar ingot with that Imperial cog stamped onto it pissed me off so bad. I don't know why. I just knew that Beskar meant something to Mandalorians. The fact that the Mandalorian reacted in the way that he did when he saw that ingot, it is a credit to the storytelling. It is a credit to Dave Filoni's direction and his director of photography and his cinematographer and, and the set designers and the costume designers and Pedro Pascal being able to write in these subtle movements that he likes money, but that Beskar caught his attention. That means something to Mandalorians, especially when we get to the next scene in which he meets with whoever the head of this conclave of Mandalorians is. That armor, that metal means something to Mandalorians culturally, almost to the point of a spiritual significance. Now, after rewatching Heroes of Mandalore, that armor, that Mandalorian iron, is forged into armor and is then passed down through the generations in order to, as sort of a birthright for the next generation of a Mandalorian clan or a Mandalorian family. And the fact that there is a ingot stamped with the Imperial cog, that ingot was probably melted down from a dead Mandalorian, taken from the body of a dead Mandalorian, melted down into another ingot, and then stamped with the Imperial cog, pisses me off to absolutely no end. And I'm really hoping that the show continues to tell that kind of, or to give us more exposition towards what happened to the Mandalorians after Rebels, before the Mandalorian. Now, this journey towards getting Beskar, this quest of his to collect more and more Beskar, we've seen the Mandalorian in full Beskar armor, not the, singular Beskar helmet and then the pauldron that he gets in this episode. So that must mean that he collects more and more Beskar as the series goes on. To me, that symbolizes two different things. To me, that symbolizes both the Mandalorian's growth as a character. It's meant to be about him claiming his status as a Mandalorian. The Mandalorian isn't an outsider, it seems, to the Mandalorian culture. He was raised in it. But he also now has to live up to that reputation of Mandalorians. There's two separate characters in this, both Werner Herzog's character and the Ugnaught guy, who both mention the skill and the legacy of Mandalorians as bounty hunters and as soldiers and as warriors. The Mandalorian needs to rise to that occasion. And I feel like that's going to be a big part of his character, and a big part of that is symbolized by that armor. Now, in addition to that, in addition to just the Mandalorian living up to that legacy, while he is living up to that legacy, he will start building on top of that legacy already, because once he gets all of his Beskar armor together, he will be a new symbol. Especially considering the fact that the Mandalorian is clearly not above just killing people, if he has to. But considering especially at the end of this episode, he shows kindness when he needs to. He is not willing to, but he is compelled to show kindness and show mercy and care about something that he doesn't even know necessarily. He just knows that it's not right to kill this 50-year-old infant. Now, you add all of these meaningful themes and character qualities and character flaws together with very well blended humor and drama and darkness and light and or levity. You get, to me, a fantastic episode of television. I know it's only 40 minutes. The fact that I was sitting there watching this for 40 minutes and I was genuinely shocked that it was only 40 minutes when we went back to go and watch it again is an incredible thing. The fact that I felt like I was sitting there for an hour or more watching this, and it wasn't, that's, again, very good storytelling, in my opinion. Anyways, I think that's it for my initial thoughts on The Mandalorian. I'm expecting that I'm going to have a lot more thoughts on The Mandalorian as we get new episodes and as we get more and more concrete explanations, because that first episode raised a hell of a lot of questions. I.e., why is there a baby Yoda? Why is there just a bunch of Niktos defending a baby Yoda? Why are they hiding out on this planet instead of leaving when clearly there's been lots of other bounty hunters that have come here for it? Why did they choose this specific planet in particular? Why does the Empire have to do with it? Why does well, I mean, maybe the Empire's just evil, whatever, okay, but the Empire's barely even around anymore, according to the head of the Bounty Hunter Guild. Also, there's a Bounty Hunter Guild, surprise. Meanwhile, there's also a scientist who's kind of at odds with the Imperial that gave the Mandalorian the contract, and that scientist has a Kaminoan symbol thingy on his shoulder patch, and okay, we've got things going on. Anyways, for real now, that's it for me. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at SW Ramblings. Hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, SEO. It supports me and it lets me know that I'm doing the right thing. Be sure to check out the podcast. Link to that is in the description. You're going to see an episode every week, just of me rambling about Star Wars for a half an hour to 45 minutes to an hour, as well as a review show that I've got to edit still, where me and my darling wife Morgan talks about the Mandalorian episode that we just watched for, I think this one was an hour and 45 minutes. So, anyways, thank you guys very much, and as always, may the Force be with you. Take care.